To me, Boston Scott is the odd man out. Some people think it should be Kenny Gainwell. It's interesting. Nobody thinks it could be Jordan Howard. It could even be Jordan Howard because we go back to the spring and the summer where Jordan admitted, hey, he thought his career was over. So it could even be that. But I do think Jordan Howard has earned his right to be a part of this offense.
Mac guys, prior to big game on Sunday, Saints and Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field. The question is, will John McMullen be in the house? You got some issues there, huh, buddy?
Not me particularly, but we'll see. You know, the COVID is ramping up, it seems, nationwide. So there's some kind of positive somewhere. And if anybody's a close contact, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see.
Ouch.
We'll see what happens.
And you did say before you left, Denver was quote unquote a hot spot. I wish I knew how to check that stuff. You have to because you're actually going there and you got to stay on top of these things. But I don't know where I would even check or who I would trust to check what is or isn't the hot spot. But I guess you go by the results, which means you got to jump through some more hoops this week, which is going to make your life more difficult. But you're a gamer, pal. You're a guy who straps it up, puts that chin strap on, and gets the job done.
Yeah, typically. We'll see. You know,
this
there's
week
only
you're
so
not.
much.
Wait a minute, I'm giving you credit here, and you're taking yourself down.
Well, there's so much time. You know, I'm one of those people that has the big Purell bottle in the car, and I every time I go in or I go out, I'm on the Howie Mandel plan.
Are you?
Yeah. I just hand sanitize everything. It's worked. So we'll see if it continues to work.
I would not even know that because I see you here on YouTube, and that's about the extent of it. So how Howie Mandelish you are, I would never know. But I'll take your word for it. I hope everything turns out okay and that you don't have to jump through all that many hoops. All right, the coach did jump through some hoops yesterday. We found out that Miles Sanders was going to be activated so that the 21-day window was opened up, and he did work out with the team yesterday. You guys get a very limited amount of time to see them practicing. Could you take anything out of what Miles Sanders did or didn't do on the field yesterday?
No, they actually scaled it back to a walkthrough, number one. So they were supposed to practice fully, and they scaled it back to a walkthrough. So it wasn't going to be a big to-do either way. But it even was, as I said, scaled back even more. So we were allowed out there for about 10 minutes. Typically, it's about a half hour on Wednesday for a regular practice, but again, because it was a walkthrough, and by the time we left, Miles wasn't even out there. He did come out there, which if you look at my Twitter account at JF McMullen, there's a little 10-second video clip of Miles hitting the field that the Eagles provided us. So he was out there. Certainly sounded like before practice, Nick Sirianni certainly sounds like he's going to play. And, you know, he was pretty emphatic. When Miles is healthy, he's our starter, basically is what he said. And he should be. I don't have a problem with that. But it is interesting because they've had so much success when he has – been on injured reserve. And I think, people make the leap to, okay, they're a better team without Miles Sanders. And for whatever reason, they have been this year for a very short sample size. But they make that immediate causal connection that they're better because he's not out there. Not necessarily, because when you lose a player like that, you reevaluate what you have. You do things in a different fashion. You understand you can't rely on the clutch of the talent of that particular player. And there's a whole bunch of sort of adjustments you make. And sometimes it's the other stuff that helps out, the scheming, the how you run the football, the make sure you go straight up the field. You don't call as many outside zone calls or things like that, and that is just as likely to has helped the Eagles' running game as the emergence of Boston Scott and Jordan Howard. So the Eagles know who their best running back is. When Miles Sanders is healthy, he seems like he's completely healthy. He's going to be out there. He's going to be the number one running back. So to me, the only question is, okay, how is the committee approach from there? And we've had that discussion already, Jody. Some people think Kenny Gainwell should be benched. I think it's going to be a different. I think he offers a role that nobody else does, and we'll see how that shakes out. But to me, Boston Scott is the odd man out. Some people think it should be Kenny Gainwell. It's interesting. Nobody thinks it could be Jordan Howard. It could even be Jordan Howard because we go back to the spring and the summer where Jordan admitted, hey, he thought his career was over. So it could even be that. But I do think Jordan Howard has earned his right to be a part of this offense.
And you and I discussed it Monday, Tuesday already this week, Wednesday as well. Is there the possibility that they will activate all four running backs for the game? You said there have been a couple of guys, the 52nd guy, 53rd guy, that haven't gotten out onto the field that aren't special team contributors, that the only thing you're doing is if you add to one area, extra running back, you got to subtract from some other area. And then if you have a tough game with injuries and the like, you could find yourself a little light in a specific position. But you still think there is a chance that all four running backs will be activated?
Yeah. In fact, I would still lean towards that direction. I think all four are going to be up. I think all four are going to play. For that reason, I mean, game day is 47. So you're down from 53 to begin with. But I think that fourth running back, and to me, it's going to be Boston Scott, as I said. He would have to help on special teams. So if Jordan Howard is your fourth running back, actually Jordan plays on special teams as well. If Kenny Gainwell is your fourth running back, if Miles Sanders was your fourth running back, you're probably not going to activate them because they're not going to help on special teams. Those players can both help on special teams, so it's not that big of a deal because that's what the back end of your roster has to do. And no matter what the position is, they got to contribute somewhere on Michael Clay's units. Otherwise, it's not that big of a deal if you're not dressing.
All right, Jay, I'm going to put you to test here right away, right off the bat to start the show. I'm going to throw you some over-unders on usage in Sunday's game. The four running, well, we won't even put Kenny Gainwell in the mix. We'll just talk about four individuals, three running backs, one quarterback. Miles Sanders may not even play yet. Has not been formally announced that he is going to be active. The coach yesterday said if he's active and healthy, he will be our starter, but he did a damn good job of covering his backside by saying, now you understand, there are different situations for different. Yeah. He gave himself leverage to get out of the decision. Miles Sanders could start and then get 2 carries and not find himself back in the game again. He did not paint himself into any kind of corner. So I give the coach credit for choosing his words carefully yesterday. I'm going to set the Miles Sanders carries for this week at 5.5.
Wow. Well, there's a lot to unpack there, Jody. I'm going to go over right off the bat.
Okay.
But I mean, if you look early in the season, they weren't running him a ton. New Orleans is the best run defense in the NFL. They give up 73 yards a game. I think 72.9 to be exact. So we could be back in that, perpetual. They can't run the football early. They go away from running the football. They fall down by 2 scores. But the point I'm trying to make is I understand why you're putting it so low, but I do think they have a different mentality now, and they're not going to give up on the run as quickly, which is why I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I do think he's going to be the starting running back. I do think he's healthy. I do think he's going to play. I do think he's going to be active, and I do think he's going to be a big part of the offense. So I'm going to go over.
I was with you till each of the steps you took until the last one. I don't think he's going to be a big part of the offense. I think he's going to be part of the offense. That's why I set it at 5.5. And you do have to factor in always the possibility of re-injury. He goes in, takes a shot, boom.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he get his 5.5. He can get his 4 in the first quarter, and then if he doesn't play quarters 2, 3, or 4, guess what?
Yeah,
it's still
you're
an under.
A winner, and that's the gambler in you. You know me. I always say I can't legislate injuries, so I can't worry about injury.
Well,
I'm going into the assumption that he's going to play 4 quarters. If he doesn't, obviously you're going to be looking real good at the under.
And I'm not. You're the one who's making the pick here. I'm just setting the line, and I do have to take injuries into it. You can't take injuries on a Scott or a Howard because they haven't been hurt. But Miles is coming back from an injury, so I think you do have to factor that in. All right, I'll set Jordan Howard. You just said some people suggesting he could be an odd man out. You think he's earned his job. He's done as well as he has, and it shouldn't even be a consideration. Last week, he carried it 12 times. If Miles is going to get some, that number's got to come down some as well. So I'm going to set the Howard carries at 9.5. You going under or over?
I'm going under. If you're giving me any number near 10 for everybody else, I'm going under, because I do think it's going to be Miles is going to be the RB1. Jordan Howard's going to be the complement, the between the tackles runner. Kenny Gainwell is going to be the third down, the hurry up back. So he's kind of game dependent. How does the game go? Are you up? Are you behind? And I think Boston Scott, as I said, is going to be the odd man out from a playing standpoint at running back. Not the odd man out on the roster, not the odd man out but getting cut. People take that the wrong way. The odd man out as far as the running back rotation. Early in the season, it was Miles and Kenny, and Boston was active and didn't get the ball at all. It's going to go back to that is what my assumption is.
All right, then this is going to be an easy one for you. Last week, he carried it 11 times, Boston Scott. I'm knocking it down to 8.5, but it sounds to me like you're leaning on an under even at 8.5.
Yeah, I'm going way under that because I don't think he's going to be a part of the rotation.
You think
that's the guy I think is the odd man out?
Okay, basically out of it. All right, now the quarterback is a different animal, because the running back runs, the handoffs, the attempts are kind of put off in one side, and Jalen's going to run when Jalen's going to run. We're not questioning how often he's going to be in the lineup. He's going to be in there for every single snap. So I'm staying pretty steady with his numbers. Last week, he carried it 13 times, took off and ran with it 13 times. Last year against the Saints, in his first ever start, he ran with it 18 times. I'm going to set the over-under this week at 12.5. Are you going under or over runs by Jalen Hurts at 12.5?
I'm going under. He'll probably be in the 10 range. I think as he gets more comfortable and he keeps getting more comfortable, obviously, I think he's more willing to stay in the pocket. He's more willing to survey the field. A lot of that's like with Gainwell, same type of thing is, also how does the game unfold? Where are we? I think if they're throwing the ball a lot in the second half, it's going to amp up those numbers, as funny as it sounds, because he's going to drop. He's going to start running for his life. He's going to start running the football. So that's a tough one, but I'm going to go under.
Okay, so you went under across the board except for Miles Sanders. Miles, you think I set it a little low at 5.5, and you're under on the other 3. And I used mostly last week, but their seasonal totals as well.
You might not even play, and then it blows the whole thing up. But I think he's going to. My whole assumption is he's going to play. Nick Sirianni kind of intimated he's going to play, and if he plays, he's going to be the guy.
And I will say this, and please tell me if you agree or disagree with it. Maybe I'm making too much of this. I don't believe I am, but There's some pressure on Nick Sirianni this week, as well as he handled it yesterday. And as I've already stated, I think he did a masterful job of putting it in a certain perspective, but without tying himself down to a number or usage. And he wasn't making stuff up. If the Eagles fall behind 14-0, then everything goes out the window. So you can lay your plans out as best you want before the game starts, but then they change with the scoreboard and with the clock and everything else. If he doesn't push the buttons correctly on Sunday, he's probably going to be second-guessed the most that he has been in a month, because things have been going well. They've won through their last 3 games. Philadelphia is a fan base that doesn't mind running the football. They like ground and pound and physicality and the like. So Sirianni's won a bunch of people over as far as the fan base goes. And oh, by the way, I think the locker room is in lockstep right about now. I think they've been pretty good all year long. I think Sirianni's done a nice job of keeping this group together. This is the first time in a couple since they started as cold as they did for the overall season. And when you get off to a slower start as the Birds did, everybody's kind of looking sideways. Do you think there's pressure? How much pressure do you think there is on Sirianni to disperse the carries and balance this offense this week? How much pressure do you think is there?
I think it's the typical. I think the biggest pressure is he's 0-4 at home, and he's got to get a home win by hook or by crook. He's under a lot of pressure from, I call it normal Philadelphia pressure, and that it's week by week. And Jalen Hurts is a star quarterback this week. If he, what's the bed, he's going to be back. They're going to be back saying, "Oh, you can't move forward with Jalen Hurts." The head coach is getting bouquets of flowers this week. If he, what's the bed, he's going to be getting bouquets of flowers thrown at him again. That's just, the EKG of the Philadelphia fan base. Very high, very low. But I think balance as a whole obviously is very important to this fan base. Running is very important for this fan base. I don't think it matters who runs it unless they fail. If Miles Sanders shows up and starts like I think he's going to start, and the first play is a outside zone and he loses 4 yards, they're going to lose their heads. They're going to lose their minds. But I think if the game goes a typical fashion and they're effective, certainly, and there's balance, nobody's going to care who's running the ball.
Right. But here's where I see it being a potential problem. What is a balance? What is success? They've kind of set the bar pretty high on themselves with the way they've run the football for the last 3 weeks. 200 and some odd yards.
Well, that's the biggest problem, because they haven't been playing the Saints. They haven't been playing a team that can stop the run.
They played the Broncos last week, who I think came in as the number 4 rush defense.
Number 6. Yeah, but the Broncos were number 6. And even Vic Fangio said this after the game. They've been very inconsistent. What he meant by that is stopping the run. They were really good early when Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell were out there, and they haven't been as good when they're not out there. They didn't have their 3 starting linebackers, so they're not. So it looks good on paper, whereas the Saints, it looks good on paper, and they still have the players that have made it look good on paper. So that's kind of the difference.
John McMullen will differentiate that because he's an astute football follower. Pete sitting in section 220 screaming at the field in the first quarter when they've got 6 carries for 13 yards. He's going to go, what the hell happened? What are you doing, Sirianni? Get this offense going. They're not going to break it down as well as John McMullen just did. All right, Jody Mack with Johnny Mack. All right, we got one of our faves coming up next. He is Mr. Positivity when it comes to the Eagles. Tongue firmly implanted in cheek. We pimp him because we can. Martin was a little less optimistic at the start of the year than some of us, but maybe he's turned. You'll find out next. Martin Frank joins us here on Birds 365.